conference at the World Investment Forum. My name is Alexis Duroy-de-Blicky. I'm the CEO of the Family Business Network, and it's my great pleasure to welcome you today. We're delighted at FBN to be a strategic partner of Unkat in the context of this World Investment Forum, which is taking place online this year, allowing us to reach out to so many people around the world. I'm also delighted to be here today with our panelist and friend, Chavalit Tsao, also known as Fred in our FBN network. And what we're going to do today is share with you some insights on leadership, and in particular, a new concept that has arisen several years ago, quantum leadership, and how quantum leadership can help organizations, companies, in particular family businesses, to meet the challenges of this new area and build sustainable businesses across generations. But before we start, and before I introduce Fred in more details, I just want you to know a little bit more about FBN, because it's the first time we are coming public in this forum. For us, it's important to tell our story and to be more public about what we do. The Family Business Network has been in existence for many decades. We're the world leading family business organization, active in 65 countries through 32 local membership associations. We gather more than 4,000 business families and 17,000 individual members, out of which a third are what we call next generation members. And that's really at the heart of what we do and who we are. What do? We bring families together to help them reconcile paradoxes. And the most important paradox for a family business is the family and the business together, to reconcile the family, which is generally full of emotions, and the business, which is around entrepreneurship and leadership. And when you bring the two together, you can create wonderful experiences, enterprises, as we will hear today, or you can also destroy life. And we're working with families, and we bring them together to be on that sustainability journey. So why are we a strategic partner of Unkat at the World Investment Forum? Well, a few years ago, we met with James Zhang, who's the director at Unkat, and we came to the conclusion that it was time for us family businesses to, in a way, come out of the closet, become more public about what we do. Because our world, our economy, is really at a stage where it needs reinvention, transformation. And business families, as you will see, have been at the heart of that economic system for decades, for generations. And that's when we embarked with Unkat on a new, first of its kind initiative and partnership, Family Business for Sustainable Development. It has an ambitious package of deliverables with the aim to mobilize business families and their stakeholders to really embed sustainability in their business strategy as well as their operations, and committing to concrete measurable contributions towards the SDGs. And we started with a pledge, and we invite you to go on the website of the initiative to look at that pledge. That pledge, we've pledged actually a similar pledge 10 years ago with one big difference. Is this time we pledged to measure our impact, track our progress, and most importantly, report transparently. And we are now embarking on that journey of transparency with the support of Unkat and the UN ecosystem. Now, why family business matters? It's this silent, hidden part of the economy, but which represent staggering numbers. Family business represent 2/3 of all companies, employs 60–70% of the workforce, and contribute to over 70% of GDP. So with those numbers comes also responsibility, the ability to respond to the challenges posed by this new area in a hopefully soon post-pandemic era, with a need to revisit and transform our system. Just before we start, I want to share with you some key characteristics key USPs, key differences of family businesses compared to what we hear most in magazines and newspapers, financial newspaper, which is the big corporate world of listed companies. First and foremost, family businesses think in generations, not in quarters. The long-term view, the obsession of the legacy to pass on values and businesses of generations. Secondly, the roots of family businesses. Every family business comes from a village. And giving back to the community, the sense of responsibility towards the community is at the heart of family businesses. And philanthropy has been a vehicle, has been a tool, has been a passion for many families to give back to their communities and really transform the life of millions of people. A sense of purpose. Business families in business spend a lot of time finding their purpose, aligning on their purpose, and then bringing that purpose, that sense into their businesses. And we know how important it is today to attract talent, to have such a sense of purpose in doing business. And finally, and probably most importantly, together with the long-term view, this capacity, this adeptness at managing paradoxes. We live in a world full of paradoxes, and family businesses are dealing with paradox on a daily basis, starting with the one which is at the heart of who they are, bringing together the business and the family. It's about how you reconcile profit and purpose, how you bring together innovation and tradition, how you look at growth while still caring for liquidity, and how you combine meritocracy and equality. So now it's my great pleasure to introduce my friend and panelist, Chaveli Tsao. A few words on Fred, as we call him in the network. He's the fourth generation leader, I should say steward, as he liked to be called himself, of a family business which started in the Shanghai Bund at the beginning of the 20th century. And he joined his family business in his 20s and really transformed it from a traditional shipping company into a multinational conglomerate with diverse activities. Now, Fred has been on a personal journey that he's going to share with us. And he really believes that businesses can play a role in serving human well-being and continue to evolve to meet the needs of society. And in that context, in the 90s, he created a certain number of institutions to really bring together businesses, people who really wanted to look at this new leadership mindset in this new area. And that's what he's going to talk to us about today. Lately, he has created an institute, which is getting well known around the world, the Aitia Institute. It comes from a Greek word called, which means cause or purpose. And really, this cause, this purpose, as we talked about, resonates with what's happening in the world, as we need to reimagine the 21st century world of leadership and business. And it brings together the wisdom of the East as well as the West. Now, that institute is located in different areas, one of them being in close to Shanghai, Shangha, a resort where organizations and people come together to be inspired and to learn about and to experience this new leadership mindset. And today, Fred is launching his new book, co-written with the famous Professor Erwin Laszlo. The book is entitled The Dawn of an Area of Well-Being. And as Fred will share with us, it is a journey where you learn on how to change your personal consciousness and leverage it to unlock your leadership potential and get wealth, well-being, and serve your stakeholders and beyond humankind. So without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce and give the floor to Chavalit Fred Tsao. Welcome and good afternoon, Fred.
Good afternoon, morning, evening to everyone. I would like to share with you the relationship with leadership, family, business, investment. And I think that the reason that the title is called Quantum Leadership is because we are moving away from a Newtonian science to a quantum science paradigm. And this paradigm is quite different than a material paradigm. Quantum scientists found out that there is no matter, that it is actually energy. Once it's interacted with consciousness, create an appearance or illusion of solidity, but actually it is just vibration of energy clustered together. And this relationship between the no form and the form of consciousness, energy, and its clustering to form the material world follows certain rules, follows certain mathematics. But it's worth noted that it is all comes from the field, the quantum unified field of consciousness. And then there's this energy called evolutionary energy, which is the source of all creation and the source of all leadership. And that energy has a two-directional movement, almost like your arm moving out of your body. There is a movement force of pushing out, but there's also a guiding force of moving in, so you have more direction in your movement. It's like punching out your arm. And that all the creation that humans have that comes from the impetus of this force that comes, be it religion or philosophy or science or anything. And that every moment in this holistic reality, everything's calibrated to perfect balance, except the next moment is open because we have a choice. And so the ability to access this quantum field will be the ability to access into all information. And it was suspected that our DNA is a coded reservoir of deposit of all that has ever happened in the creation of materialism. So there you are. This really is quite mind-boggling. But it does do is it bridged between physics and metaphysics and allowed a rise of a new language that can decode all mysticism and religion. Now, how does this becomes important? Because from this quantum paradigm of consciousness comes a whole new life science that's based on consciousness, like neuroscience or epigenetics or psychology and so forth, and even contemplative science. What happened to you when you become journey inward and still? And more important, a new systemic understanding that's based on how consciousness creates into awareness, that creates into our worldview, to create our thinking, to create our desire, then it create our economics. And as we create economics, all systems are being formed from there. And I define economics are all activity to meet our desire, or in other words, all our culture is economic activities. So if we are really looking at this particular thing, then quantum leadership is about transforming yourself and shifting your consciousness to become more aware. More aware of what? In the material world, the expression of this holistic reality comes into a systemic understanding. And we express that systemic understanding as relationship. And now we see how all relationships are all tied up into the system. Instead of one-to-one single, that all relationship is actually one relationship. And that relationship all rests inside us as our perception of stimuli from outside. And therefore, our choice of action comes from there. And that's the moment the universe is open for us to choose.
So Fred, sorry to interrupt you. You're suggesting a framework of leadership that starts with an inner journey of consciousness that is embedded in the laws of physics and metaphysics. And once that journey of inner consciousness has taken place, then it sort of allows the relationships with others to be at a different level. Can you share with us a little bit your own journey on how, over the past, I would say 2 or 3 decades, you have embarked on that journey of transformation for yourself and then for your organization, and what it has created in terms of new relationships, new models, as well as the impact on the business?
Well, first of all, it started when I started doing meditation. That's a journey inside. As you journey inside in stillness, thoughts arrive. Perhaps people call it intuition. But those thoughts or intuition needs to relate to experience and transfer from an experiential right brain into your left brain interpretation. So after meditation, where there's a lot of thoughts that's been generated, that I know that's not mine. In 1995, I formed an East-West Center for Cultural Research on Sustainability. And so it's a very relational study on concept of modernity and looking at the history and studying what resources, wisdom we can draw. And it is in that particular institute that I formed, I start contact with the quantum paradigm. And so as I move on in experiencing my life and learning more, I found out that quantum paradigm matches really well with the Chinese culture, with the Chinese themselves as abandoned, but now they're revitalizing. And so the life science of the West and the life science of the East are very different. One is very technology-based, but the East is also technology-based in this very special way of the journey and how should one live the life. So it's always been a criticism that the East doesn't have philosophy, and I think it's true, because in China, they never doubt the Tao, the yin and yang, the Wu Ji, and all those things. Everything is about developing the technology to live that worldview. And so to manage with that worldview. And so really they have no challenge of the worldview, they just accepted it. And to see that worldview from the personal inner journey, and therefore it's not a belief system, but it's an experiential system to go on the journey. And so there are many, many practices that you can use. Mindfulness is a gate that now become very popular in the West, but it's incomplete. And in there, we can experience the truth about relationship observing inside. And therefore, you start releasing the belief system. Many of my belief system were just there, probably there when I was a little kid. But through the journey of experiential and observation, we'll be able to pierce through the belief system to see how untrue it is. Otherwise, we have to find a life coach. We do use life coach as well. But actually, it is about cleaning up our belief system so we have more freedom.
Fred, it's interesting. It's interesting what you're saying, because, you know, I come back to my introduction of paradoxes, and you were talking about embarking on that consciousness journey to align your left brain and your right brain, and we've all learned to know about the difference and the fact that we sometimes have one part of the brain taking over the other part. you then talk about the Eastern science, the Eastern's wisdom and the Western science, which are also two paradoxes in a way. And it leads us to this paradox of family and business, of emotion and entrepreneurship. And for many years, you know, we've been told to take the family out of the business, take the emotions out of the business. And if I can read you right, what you're inviting us here is not to take it out, not to put it under the carpet, because we know it's going to resurface maybe at the next generation, two generations down the road, but to really get on that journey of consciousness to reconcile both and in a way make the best out of both. So tell us a little bit what type of sort of tensions and conflicts you have encountered as you were embarking that journey, and how you have been able through your practices and now with your institute to help reconcile them, because you're going to talk about it, but it's about this journey of healing both sides.
Well, I suppose the first thing is to get the word reconciled out of our mind, because it's a dualistic view. So the minute you have the word reconciled, they are separate. But in fact, there is no separation. Well, when you experience, if even you close one's eye, you experience everything's holistic. Inside there, nothing is separate. There is no paradox when you close your eyes. When you go inward in the holistic dimension of oneself, you will see that there's no paradox. The paradox comes from our perception, because we have eyes, ears, nose, and so we see it separate. We think of them as separate. We look at the conflict in the relationship. But in effect, there is no conflict. We just have to see through it. They're actually one. Now, the most first step in dealing with this is to dealing with our fabricated emotions that we are not born with, that we develop over time. And this is called the middle way. And learning a way of mindfulness practice, including breath work or tapping or music, or many ways to start adjusting, so you'll be able to maintain coolness, so to say, or neutrality in your emotions. When you can maintain neutrality in emotions, you can sit with uncomfortable, vulnerable feeling, addressing it and understanding it's just a feeling until you're comfortable. And then you develop courage of facing and seeing through and piercing the paradox to see that actually there is no paradox. And when you start doing that, you'll be able to flow naturally. And having the flow is natural, because moment it changes. Now, it doesn't mean you don't experience emotions. It's just that emotions are flowing through you and it doesn't affect you. And through flowing through you, you see the thought that's arising from the emotions and able to pierce it and to see where it's true and where it's not true, and then you're being released to be free from it. So
it's about sorry to interrupt. It's in a way it's a call to first accept the reality as it is, and we know how hard it is. And in order for those emotions to flow, for that reconciliation to happen, is put oneself in a state of mind where you first accept the reality, you first experience those emotions, so the flow can continue. Now, the flow has been interrupted in a way brutally by the COVID pandemic. And for many of us, and for you as well, I'm sure it has been a revealer and an accelerator of a situation that was underlying. And it allowed for a lot of people to go back to that inner journey and really make that work. So maybe share a little bit about what you have experienced for yourself, but also for your organization, because as many leaders, you were sort of far away physically from your organization for many months. So what have you experienced through that crisis, and what has the sort of your journey in the past decades led to while you were sort of experiencing that crisis?
Well, first of all, I just wanted to mention, not to be controversial, the thought of it is hard is the problem too. In fact, most of the people think it is hard and therefore they don't do. And for those who do, would have arrived when they're still thinking hard whether they should try. So thinking high is limiting thoughts. So again, these are the things that when you come to our center and we walk through it, we make to break through those thoughts that you can actually do it in a very short time. You just need to do it. So when the COVID arrived, it gives a new possibility of the future. People say, there's even a book that every virus of this nature, the change of the era. And you know, I wrote a book, and of course I see it that way. So we move from a separation to a unifying era, at the age of Aquarius. The Mayan calendar elapsed already since 2012. And we can see, for example, that people are forced to face themselves, then to start living and studying and working and everything from home, and to deal with the relationship of family and community, and even dealing with relationship work from home. And that's been very revealing, and it changes the technology, changes the way we think. And of course, today, even Jones Lang wouldn't put a separate team as, what are we going to do with all these offices that we have built? They need a conversion. So everybody changes the whole organization. During the COVID, the supply chains disrupted. There's a lot of emotions. So people say, well, we need to localize. Well, that set up a very, very good foundation for the AI to speed up. Because when you localize, you have great inflation because the cost is not equalized from world trade. But when you localize, there's great pressure to apply AI. Because if you apply AI, you reduces the difference between country and you move it into investment-driven production. And so it changes many things. It changes the supply chain. And this is especially evident in China. The delivery is so efficient. I can eat one dinner, order from 5 different restaurants, or arriving within 30 minutes. So the efficiency of doing that, the video conferencing, technology advances, the rethinking of life that we're sitting at home and reevaluating what we're trying to do. All this is very, very positive. Wherever it show up, even in countries that I see that they're very divisive, it becomes clear that they need to address that divisiveness. Otherwise, they'll be in great trouble. And that is also a good thing. So there is nothing bad coming up with COVID, only a good thing. Now, I understand it brings a lot of emotions, but that's also a very good opportunity to practice. So for me, it has been great.
Thank you. So we have learned that, through various surveys from Gallup or from Microsoft, that a lot of people are rethinking the way they work and their purpose in how they work and why they work. And there was a study saying that I think half of the people want to stay home, and they want to stay home and from home because of the issue of commuting in many countries and cities, as we know, but because it brought more well-being to their family and their life. We also learned that in a Microsoft study, 46% of the people are considering changing jobs after COVID, which means that in our teams, we can say that on average, 1 out of 2 people is looking for another job. Now, this whole concept of quantum leadership applied to this crisis and the sort of the family business world in a post-COVID area. How have you implemented that in your own organization? What have you learned from it as people are rethinking the whole purpose of their work?
Yeah, well, first of all, when you change your world, not even a worldview yet because you haven't changed, but you're subscribing a new impetus from outside to say, hey, the reality is that. And when COVID is there, you're rethinking about life. And you say, well, this is the reality. This is my experience. This is the real reality. And then I'm reconsidering my life and I say, well, what's my purpose of life? What do I want to do? What's important for me? And then you start thinking about, well, what is life about? What is my life journey? Well, we have an industrial material world for a long time. So fame and wealth and success are all intertwined in your own identity. And we have an education system that bring experts to produce, to serve the industrial process. And so we start thinking about the breakdown of ethics that it's bring to the world. On one hand, we can see Earth repair itself very quickly without us interfering. We can also see how divisive the work is, or on the same time, how humanity can work together to fight the virus. We're rethinking life. Then we're just thinking the purpose of life. Then we're rethinking how we live our life. Am I living in the survival mode? Or am I living in the living enjoyment mode, or looking for pleasure? Or am I living for life itself in the purposes mode? And we all sometimes shift between the three modes, but we had reflection that allow us to look at the three modes that we from time to time living and understand what it means to us. That's a very good thing when you're closed down in a home, that you have to think about this. The most important thing is, what's my life journey? What's my plan for my life? What is a good life? Which direction should I live my life? What changes I need to make to my life? That is a very important instigation. And I take advantage of that to enhance that in running online classes for all my staff, facilitated by facilitator. And of course, now it's open up. I also do offline experiential transformation classes. And then, of course, people have to look at themselves. Is this the job I want? Do I find the mission aligned to my personal one? You know, a lot of companies' mission is not vision, it's ambition. I want to be the best, I want to be the biggest, I want to be. A mission must be the mission must be a better tomorrow. A vision is not ambition. And so people are thinking, am I living my ambition, or am I living a vision? Do I have a vision of a better tomorrow of we? Because of the world, everything is life in the quantum universe is life, Earth is life, everything, the mountain, the water, us, trees. If everything is life, short of one, we cannot. Then well-being is really the well-being of the entire system. And if you start thinking about that, you start thinking about your life and say, well, yeah, can I be well if there's no Earth? Can I be well if their society is no good? Can I be well if there's Third World War going on? We cannot. So when we start thinking the collective and individual paradox, if you call it a paradox, because it's not, the individual does not exist out of the collective. There's no conflict. Now you have integration. You think about life differently. Then you think about, what talks to me? Do I choose this company? Well, this company will make me rich, but it drives the juice out of everybody. And that company, that has a vision. Maybe I have less pay. Do I go there? What talks to me? What is my vision of my life? If you have no vision of your life, you have no direction. You have no leadership. We are CEO of our life. How do we choose if we don't have a vision of our life? And our life is not separating from our family life, our countrymen, humanity, animal, trees, earth. As we shift through this training and during the crisis, it is inevitably a very good opportunity for people to reflect, what is life? What is purpose of life? What is the value that we uphold? And there's only one value that we're common. How do we add value to life? There's only one thing that we do. We are creating a 7-8 billion life system called humanity, and it has to interact with the environment. So these are the really good time to stimulate people to think and choose what is the direction of their life and what's important to them. And one of quantum leadership about transformation is to connect deeply into yourself, to allow your true nature, why you're here to do. And it will show through and will guide you. That is the miraculous journey of going inside yourself to find out truly who you are. and how you're going to choose to live, and the need of creating life. The guiding evolution contractor force going is our conscience. We have a
So thank
conscience.
you. So you
Can I
you
finish?
really,
Can I
sorry,
finish,
go ahead.
please?
Yeah, sure.
Look at capitalism. Capitalism has two pieces. One is created by Adam Smith, the theory of moral sentiments. And it was in the Industrial Revolution time in England, where commodity prices are controlled. He then wrote The Wealth of Nations. So economic transformation, is going on for the well-being economy. And this is very relevant to the well-being economy because at the moment, people hasn't quite defined what's well-being economy, as is people have problem defining what impact investment is. ESG is the new rules of the game of minimum, and impact investment is the direction of us creating a future. One's defense, one's creation. Okay, sorry, pass on to you.
No, thank you, Fred. I think what's interesting to hear, and we're going to switch gears. You mentioned capitalism. It's interesting here that you really sort of double down on this learning context for your organization. That through COVID you continue to bring people not only to manage the company and the crisis, but to allow them to go on that journey, because they were back home with themselves, with their families. And in a way, they had more time to think about it and to embark on that reconciliation journey. Now, the theme of this conference, of the World Investment Forum this year, is investing in a sustainable recovery. And I want to switch gear a little bit. You mentioned capitalism, referring to what Rebecca Greenspan, the new Secretary General of Unkat, said at the opening. In a world which is awash with cash, the problem, as we know, isn't the lack of money. It's that the money is being invested in the wrong places. And we need, in that sense, to change the rule of the game. And we have to change, as she said, the investment status quo, because it's not fit to build resilience, to build sustainable capital for the long term. A little bit how you have transformed your industrial family business legacy into a conglomerate, and how you're looking at this sort of a theme of impact investment, and by changing the rule of the game on how to invest and where to invest, we are going to be able to transform capitalism for a better world.
Yes. So first of all, I think it's natural that impact investment, as I earlier, will come up. And a lot of impact investments are working with the 17 sustainability goals, partially or collectively, but mostly is in a line. And I have no doubt that we have the capability business to do it, especially on issue base. If we prefer to look at capital quite differently and a different shade of capital to make it work, it's really solving an issue, rebuilding a supply chain, which we have a lot of experience to do. So impact investment driving issue is, I think, not so much an issue, but impact investment that resolve a locational cluster of issues needs some skills and capability. And there too, I think business is the best candidate to solve those problems. Now, very business always have three legs: the family office in charge of investment, the business that serves society, and the philanthropy that serves humanity. It's really relooking how we integrate investment, business, and philanthropy to deliver sustainability goal 17. So I think the new system is a reconfiguration of the different players against different shades of capital and competence, and working with government to serve locational issue. Issue, I think is less of an issue. Now, impact investment is not defined. People can't really say. But one thing is for sure, there are two types of impact investment. There's one type of impact investment because we need to have an impact investment. like we need ESG, but that's the world's going. Well, they have lack of creativity. But one type of investment comes from inside out, the one that can give us the creativity, the ones that we truly want to create a better, the one that is come from love, the intention and the intensity of the focus to resolve those problems, and the willingness to put substantial capital and time and effort into creating. I think what we need is more of those truly dedicated from the heart love to create impact, because the intention and the dedication is the most important. Many people jump on impact investment because that's a cool thing. That's a thing that people talk about. There's a market for it. Family business all talk about it. But I think family business is the best one to do because they have all three that are in there. They understand that you need to impact the whole system. Because for family business to sustain, like every system, it serves individuals and it serves a bigger system. So individuals are served, family office serve family, business serve society, and philanthropy serve humanity. So family business is the best position, they think, in generation to creating this new impact investment model, which I'm doing myself, into solving issue. I have looked into, sir, yes?
No, go ahead. You were going to say that you've looked into a certain number of areas, and I wanted you to get there actually. And you know, as you were talking about the new economy of well-being, how are you sort of looking at that as an impact investor with your family and your family office, and how is that investing side of your activities sort of delivering on your journey of quantum leadership?
So as usual, there's one that that you find out that you shouldn't do, then you stop that. So we've pretty much gone out of resources almost completely now. I still have some industrial farming, which I would be divesting and converting into new farming. And so you need to change some things that you don't do, and then something you do. And so on the impact investment side, I created a wellness economy investment fund. And inside there, of course, we will invest in ESG and good companies, but it will also invest in, also have an impact investment arm, which integrated philanthropy and also a project management company to look at the equity and capital deployment in managing complex locational issues. That we haven't started any project yet because we're still studying. And also I just put together a team to study the Wellbeing Economy Research Institute. And so this is what I'm doing on the age of well-being in the investment area, while our more conventional, traditional investments all comply with ESG, and we are divesting and reinvesting on our traditional business and creating new business. One of the new business we're looking, the areas of new business creations are in the new way of eating food, in a new education, which is integrated with healthcare, and in new community lifestyle, so that we create new community real estate projects.
Thank you, Fred. Now, all of that in your case is in the context of a family business, of a family in business. And you talk to us about how quantum leadership is, through its inner journey, very personal journey, is helping us to improve, to redevelop relationship with others. And you talked about the I, from the I to the we, which was the theme, you will remember, of our global summit in 2016 in China. Now, tell us a little bit of, and as we are, getting to the final stage of this session, tell us a little bit about how you are bringing your family at large on this journey? Because, quantum leadership is very inspirational, very aspirational, but we know that in families, different people are at different stages of the journey. And how do you bring your family together on that journey, knowing that they're very strong, different worldviews or personalities in the family? And what has worked for you to bring everyone together on this journey?
I don't know. We've been on it for a long time, starting from dialogue, but let's talk about what we're doing right now. So we have a family council. There are 4 siblings on it, and we rotate the chairmanship. But there are 3 meetings that we hold. The family council meeting that manage the family office, and the CEO comes and report. That is once a month. And the chairman does the coordination, whoever is chairman. But there is 2 meetings that we have every week. And those meetings are 2 hours. One is with a consultant looking at impact investment and philanthropy. It's once a week. To constantly keep our mind on the topic of where we're going. And the second one is a meeting that we explore life, to go deeply to explore life and practice of this life journey towards well-being. And so, of course, we do go on retreats, but not during the COVID now. But I think keeping our focus is very important. One thing you have to understand, how do we create? We create with a focused thought. Once our thoughts are focused, creation happens. Sustained focus on a thought is really how creation happens. So keeping ourselves focused on life, focus on impact, which is where we're going, how to add value to life, and focusing on managing. 3 things keeps our focus.
Thank
then
you.
The rest is packaging. Throwing some parties, getting together, enjoy each other. Those are the packaging.
Yes, and thank you for that. And you make me think of two important quotes that we always like to share at FBN. A family that plays together stays together. And I think as the chair of our ambassador circle at FBN and as a great host of many activities for the network, you have demonstrated that when we play together, when we learn to play together, we stay together. And as family businesses, we know that the business is the hardware and the family is the software. And both need each other, because if you have a computer with other hardware, well, it's pretty limited. But if you have also a computer with a software, it won't get you very far. So it's about investing as much in the hardware as it is in the software. And you were just sharing that you're bringing your family together twice a week, you said, which, for some would think, why so much? Well, it's actually important to spend that time together. And the second quote, beyond just the family that plays together, stays together, is a quote from Ivan Landsberg, professor of family business at Kellogg, who says, a learning family always attracts great talent from within the family and also from outside. And I think as we embark on this journey of quantum leadership, of this inner journey of consciousness, to reach a more balanced life, to look at relationships in a new way, a new worldview of relationship, to embark on this journey of impact investing into the well-being economy, learning together as a family, learning together with your management team, learning together with employees is an essential aspect of the development of our businesses and to build those resilient businesses for sustainable recovery. Now, we're going to conclude now. So Fred, I'd like you to share the last words and to inspire us about how you see the world going, because it's going to be really interesting now to see what's happening in this post-COVID world, and how we can continue to develop that sustainable recovery.
Yeah, well, I think one of the things that we can see the world is leadership, including our leadership of our own life. Otherwise, we won't be stressed out. So what is leadership? Leadership has, number one, followership. You have to follow your vision, follow your heart, and keep focused and dedicated, because as I said, that's the only way you create it. The second one is creativity, because it's keep on changing. And you need to integrate more and more to deliver that vision, whether it's vision of your life, of the world, but you cannot division the vision of your life without the putting in the context of the world, and how big a context you put your life is, depending how big a vision you be. Same thing for company or family business. The second one is creativity. When you're still, when you're focused, when you are in surrendering and following your purpose, your direction, creativity will flow through you. You'll see through all the limiting thoughts, see through all those limiting belief systems. And as you go on the journey, creativity comes. And the last one, well, that one for experience, family business is not a main issue, execution capability. Except this execution capability needs higher skills into human harmony and working together. The Chinese believe that to get things done, the celestial timing, the selected location, and then comes the human harmony. So what we can do is creating harmony and collaboration. So for those in business investment, start thinking about a collaboration strategy rather than a competitive strategy.
Thank you very much, Fred. And we can summarize, as you said, this quantum leadership journey into a journey of purpose. Make sure you stick to your vision and your purpose, despite the crisis and despite the environment. Stick to your principles. We can summarize this quantum leadership journey into a journey of creativity, as you said, and new relationships bring new creativity, and new creativity brings new relationships. And finally, quantum leadership is about execution. It's not just about this journey of learning, this journey of knowing different concepts, but it's about executing. And I think in that sense, it's a very exciting way to look forward and to continue to invest in this sustainable recovery. And as I know, you spend a lot of time in China and you do a lot of operations and activities in China. We can say that there's this Chinese proverb, I think, which says that the teachers open the door and you enter by yourself. So thank you, Fred, today for opening for many of us a door. We're now going to enter it and continue on that leadership journey. And
Yeah,
I
thank
just
you,
want
Alex.
to, yep. Thank you very much for your time and your contribution. And I want to thank the audience for being with us this morning, this afternoon on this journey. And join us in virtual room 7 for more sessions. Later on today, we're going to be inspired by our next generation members, looking at their legacies. And also later on, we will award our annual Next Gen Entrepreneurial Award at the Family Business Network. So thank you, all of you, and stay safe, and look forward to being in touch with you very soon. Bye-bye now.
Bye.